Hello, my name is Lee France. I'm the school counselor at Smith Elementary. I'm here for your Coffee with a Counselor for the month of March. This month I'm talking about mindfulness. So we're going to kind of go through some different techniques that I use here at school with my students for mindfulness, but also things that you could use at home with your students, or you can use for yourself, because I use some of them for myself as well. And this is a really cool PowerPoint that I found from a source that another counselor had done that's really cool, and just how it organizes things and explains mindfulness. So we are going to use this to kind of go through everything. All right, so what is mindfulness? Mindfulness is the act of being present in the moment. So not thinking about what has happened and not thinking about what's going to happen, but just thinking about what is happening right now. And some of the ways that we do that is we think about our bodies and what our bodies are doing. A lot of times I use senses with this to kind of help kids organize and think through things. So what kind of things do you see? What kind of things do you smell? What kind of things do you hear? What kind of things do you taste? And what kind of things can you feel? Also just feeling where your body is, like in your chair, or if you're laying down in your bed, just feeling kind of in the moment where you are, and having your brain just focus on that helps take away kind of that intense emotions when we have something happen to us, or when we're worried about something that's going to happen. So it's useful because it just helps you pay attention better to what's going on around you. It also helps you pay attention to your emotions better and how you're reacting. So it allows you to kind of be in the moment, see how you reacted. Even if you felt like you overreacted, you're able to calm yourself down faster so you can kind of make up for that overreaction. It also lets you slow down and just take one thing at a time, instead of feeling like all these things are happening, you're having to deal with all of them. It allows you to kind of be more patient and be a better listener to those around you. And it just lets you separate yourself from your feelings for long enough that you can cope with them and deal with them, which leads to you being happier, enjoying more things, healthier, all of that good stuff. All right, so here's the steps for practicing mindfulness. So you observe what's going on in the moment. So like I said earlier, I use senses a lot to kind of talk about that. I'll have my students give me 2 things they can see, 2 things they can hear, 2 things they can feel, 2 things they can taste, and 2 things that they can smell, and that keeps them in the moment. I also sometimes talk about colors. So if I have a student that's really upset, I'll start asking them, hey, what color are your shoes? Or, oh, I like your nail polish. What color is that? And it kind of gets their mind not focused on what is making them upset, but instead focused on the moment. So then we can talk about what was making them upset after they've calmed down. And then also just letting your thoughts that are in your head pass. So it's easy to say, oh, if you just start thinking about your senses in your body, then you're not going to be thinking about whatever just happened or whatever is going to happen. It's easy to say that, but that's not how it works usually. Usually those thoughts are still trying to make their way into your mind. So letting them just pass right through like they're clouds. So they come into your head and you just let them go and kind of keep going with being mindful and being the present moment, so then you can deal with them later. And then not judging yourself about how you're dealing with them. That is a big thing that I think I learn a lot from my students with that, because I struggle with it as an adult. I judge myself for how I reacted, and that makes me more upset, whereas kids, I think, are a little bit better at, they reacted, they're calming themselves down, and now they're going to deal with it, instead of judging themselves just because they kind of don't put that weight on it always. So just making sure that you're not trying to label what happened as a good or bad reaction, because that will just kind of bubble up those emotions more. All right, and then the biggest thing that's usually used with mindfulness is breathing. So just different breathing techniques, and we're going to go through a few of them, but just doing those big deep breaths helps. With our students, we have a couple different like fun breathing activities that we do with them that helps them kind of focus on those deep breaths. So this one is just finding the present moment, just slowly breathing, kind of almost like a meditation, and holding your breath for about 3 seconds and exhaling through your mouth. This one works with some of my older kids. The younger kids sometimes get a little bit, either they don't find it entertaining enough to do, or they get a little bit distracted. But some of my older kids in 4th grade do kind of just like sitting there and calming down. Some prefer to sit and calm down before they deal with something too. I know that's something that they don't always want to say. So this is always kind of a good option if you have some of those older kids to keep in your mind. If they're really, really upset, just ask them if they want to take a moment to just sit down and take some deep breaths and then come back and deal with it. Lazy 8 breathing, this is a good one. So you just have your, I call it an infinity sign, but your figure 8, and you just breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and they just follow that shape. This is something that students can write on the paper. If they're taking a test and they're really upset, or if they're in the classroom really upset, they can just write down on paper and follow it. They could write it down at home too. Sometimes I'll take kids outside when they're upset and use the sidewalks with chalk if it's nice out and have them do that. Just kind of gives them different ways to go through the breathing. Dragon breathing. So I don't always use dragon breathing, but I do use a lot of animal breathing. So with dragon breathing, this is going to be where they take a big deep breath in through their nose, and then we breathe out, they pretend they're breathing out fire like a dragon, as loud as as hard as they can. So this is a good one for the little kids to kind of keep them in the moment. I also use bee breathing, where you'd breathe in and then buzz like a bee, so buzz like that. And then we also have just different kinds of animal breathings that kind of help. But the thing about animal breathing is that if you're in a setting where it needs to be quiet, so I think about, like, we just took iRead, so our iRead kids, when they're in their classroom, having those animal breaths, that's going to be distracting to other students around them. So not always something that I use in the testing setting, but when we're in a setting where they're able to kind of express themselves and be loud, then I'm fine with them doing it. Square breathing. Square breathing is a great one because you can really use this at any time, and it's really easy for students to follow. So you just follow the square, you hold your breath at the top, breathe out, hold your breath at the top, breathe in. So going through like that and just kind of holding the 4 seconds. This is another one like the figure 8 breathing, where you can draw it on a piece of paper and students can follow it. I also do triangle breathing, is a good one. Some kids want to do circle breathing, but the thing with circle breathing is that there's no stop because there's no corners on the shape. So circle breathing doesn't work as well, but I have had ones that are almost like swirls. Those are helpful for breathing. Mountain breathing. So this one's more kind of like a yoga type thing, and I don't always use this one, but if you have a student that seems like, or one of your students at home just seems like they're so, like, have so much energy and they're just so kind of like pent up with either anger or sadness or just really like super, super energetic, you can use this to kind of help them do some body motions to calm them down. I do use something similar though in testing, where I have them put their hands underneath their chair and pull up, and that kind of makes their arms tense, and they do breathing with that, and that kind of helps that physical part of if they have like a lot of stress or anxiety built up in their body. All right, and then we're going to, this is kind of just a for this PowerPoint one that they put in here, but just breathing in and out as it goes. There's also, while this is on here, a lot of really neat kind of meditation videos on YouTube that you can use as well. And then this is another one of the relaxations. And you'll notice that with these different videos, they're not long. These breathing strategies are really just a couple minutes. And when I use them with students, it probably would be less than 5 minutes, and it helps them just reset and keep going. This is kind of a cool one to watch. And then the ball just goes up and kind of does its little thing again. So like I said, these are all ones that you can find something similar on YouTube for. Another one that kind of goes along with cake. Cake breathing is one of my favorite ones. So I have students use cake breathing, not necessarily with this, but they'll pretend they're holding a piece of cake. And one thing that helps them kind of be present is I ask them what kind of cake it is, and they'll start thinking about what kind of cake they want. And they'll tell me, and then I have them smell the cake and then blow out the candle. And you can also do that with soup breathing. They'll kind of hold a bowl of soup, ask them what kind of soup they have in their hands, and then do the same thing with the breathing. That seems to help them a lot. Here's another one that's kind of a game claw. That's sort of neat. So another thing with these videos and the ones that you could find on YouTube as well is it gives them a visual. I don't always have a visual for students. The figure 8 breathing and the square and triangle breathing is really good for visuals too, to help them and go through while they're breathing, and kind of gives them that extra sense that's working in the moment. All right, and here's some other ways to be mindful. Before bed, just being mindful, taking a moment to just kind of calm down and calm your body. It helps students fall asleep faster, helps them stay asleep, kind of just lets everything go from the day. Like they said, those thoughts, just passing them through, not holding on to them, just letting them pass. During meals, that is a time where you are sitting down and you're focused on what's going on right now. You're focused on your meal. So just tasting your food, feeling where you're sitting at, thinking about each bite you're taking, that'll help you be mindful. Exercising, obviously, we're coming into spring, so anytime that you can go outside and have walks is a great thing to do. And then just for adults, this is more for adults, but for kids too, just when you're in the shower, that's when our brains start running through every single thing that happened today. Taking a moment then to practice mindfulness will be a good way to practice that strategy and make it stronger. All right, and these are just some resources that the resource that I used had, but like I said, they have some YouTube playlists on here, but also any kind of calming music that you can use, even if it's just kind of in the background. I know at home, a lot of times will play, like, they have a lot of different just ambiance music on YouTube. I just kind of play that in the background. It makes me feel calmer. So just some ideas for mindfulness. I think that mindfulness, a lot of times people think it's like yoga and very zen, and you have to be very, like, spiritually in the moment. But I think that it's more of something that you can use each day, just throughout the day, just to keep yourself calm and reset and focus. And for our students, it's been very helpful for them to just work on those breathing strategies, to work on calming their bodies, so that they can deal with whatever comes about. So I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you watching this video, and I appreciate everything that you do for our students. We cannot do what we do here without you guys at home. So very much appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a great month.